Moving slow this morning. Woke up and I was 41.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Slower.
Every year it goes a little faster.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'll call this meeting of the Executive Committee to order. It's Wednesday, May 6th. We're in the Volusia-Flagler TPO conference room.
Councilman Sander,
Yeah, here.
Councilmember Robbins.
Here.
Mayor Cloudman,
Here.
Vice Mayor Gillis.
Here.
Commissioner Vance.
Here.
Councilmember Miller.
And we have a physical quorum and nobody is online.
Nobody's online. Okay. Very good. Thank you for that. Let me start by saying my apologies for missing the board meeting weeks ago. Mea culpa, it's all on me. No real excuse. So I just want to apologize for missing that meeting to everybody. So now that that's clear, public comments. Sir.
Rick Fellinger.
Good morning.
Decommissioned from Flagler Beach. So, I have, I'm here today. I'm hearing that they're wanting to put a mast arm at the crosswalk on Newton Boulevard. It's that mid-block crosswalk. We've got a project in the works to beautify that section through there. And reconfigure it possibly. So to put mast arms up there kind of defeats two things. One is if it gets reconfigured, you might have to tear them back down. Secondly, it doesn't fit with beautifying. He got hit with 3 of them on A1A. And sometimes they're relatively ineffective, especially the one in front of the pier for some odd reason. But I think it's mostly because the thing's so far up in the air, people don't see it. They just drive under. They're busy looking for pedestrians down at ground level. And people just drive right on through the thing. So, but I'm just begging to do whatever I can do to keep them from putting a mast arm up. It's big block cross. It's just a wrong fit at this time. But the blinking beacons with the stuff in the road would be way more than what we have now, which is nothing other than a couple signs. But the fact that we've got a project in the works that's high in ranking, might happen sooner as opposed to later. Pretty silly thing. Thanks.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's on a project list or anything. So
Well, I believe that crosswalk is part of the Best Foot Forward Flagler Beach crosswalk. This is the one where the new hotel is, right?
Yes.
For the new hotel. We can confirm that. They're collecting data there as part of that effort, which is outside of what DOT would do if they were to install a mid-block crossing there. But we can get some additional information. Right now, it's not on one of our lists. We do have a feasibility study on our list to look at that corridor between the bridge and A1A. And that is ranked fairly high on that feasibility study list. But I can coordinate with Kaya to see what's happening out there if there are any plans.
appreciate it.
Thank you for that. Okay, we'll now go on to our business items. 3A, discussion and recommendation of the Executive Director's performance evaluation. We as the Executive Committee are designated to perform the annual evaluation of the Volusia-Flagler TPO Executive Director. As you know, this review is required by the TPO's contract with the executive director. The TPO's general counsel is compiling scores of each executive committee member and will present the results of the summary memorandum. You all have that summary memorandum in front of you or was emailed to you. Do you have anything to add?
I just wanted to thank everyone for taking the time to complete this evaluation. I know going through the time frame of it, we did have 2 reviewers that are no longer on the executive committee, but it was important to also get their input coming forward. And I know we have a fairly new member on the executive committee that was tasked with the review as well. So I really do appreciate the time that everyone took to complete the evaluation. Our legal counsel, she did compile all of the scores into a memorandum similar to what was done in previous years. That was emailed out yesterday. We did receive it Monday evening. So we emailed that out yesterday for everyone to look at. But it's a compilation of all of the review criteria. There's 17 in total, and then the scores that were awarded by each member, and then at the end a summary of the total score as well as any of the review comments that were received as well.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate them getting turned in as well. A few of you did some pretty extensive comments, and those are really helpful. And I know I didn't because I'm very good at criticizing or commending people on things. So it's, and overall, it's a very good rating. I mean, any comments from any of you?
First time reviewer.
Yes, sir.
The overall scores are strong. I talked with Ms. Nicholin about being able to add a self-evaluation. These are things we can bring up in the future if you wanted to look at how to best enhance the history evaluation. So self-evaluation, I think, are always important. Gives additional perspective on the day-to-day for those, especially on the exceptional rankings. What is it that from the executive director standpoint, so pushing a 5. And a history or a summary, like I'm a little lost because I don't know the past history or summary of past pay increases.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know what's typical or what has been standard in that realm, because we're being consistent as a body or not. And then the comments are good, and maybe those are where we can highlight the 5s, but I always feel like 5s need verbal backup, because those are exceptional rankings above and beyond. And I think from a transparency perspective, we owe it to be able to document those 5s in a clear manner. But those are just my comments again, look forward to everybody else's input, but we can bring that up if it's the direction that to speak about that in the future.
I think that's great input. We're always trying to improve the process. The second or third year of using this evaluation, the one previous had a lot of categories that didn't apply. So great suggestions for moving forward.
I just always have problems with the form itself. Like for the last couple of years, it's just not wanting to let me fill it in, and then I'm like put into different programs. I don't know if it's just me and user error, or if I've just had issues with it every time when I'm trying to do it and send it back. When I open it, it doesn't want to let me check the boxes, and then so I put it into like Paint and marked it off, and then even when I did it that way. When I did it that way, it didn't transfer over, and they said only half of them came through. And on my end, it shows they all came through. And I was like, okay. It might just be.
I think a good Adobe Acrobat Pro or something that works well with it, because otherwise they are glitchy.
I was able to send, I mean, I wrote in everything and sent it back.
And I did speak with our legal counsel about that, and she recommends next year, changing the format to more of a web-based format. And then that way she can also print a report that compiles it, so she doesn't have to, tally each one individually in an Excel spreadsheet. So it'd be more efficient for her as well. So kind of just changing the format and the way it comes through.
And that would be easier to log on to. Some of the reports were going to the wrong place.
That was an error. Yeah,
That's
that was an
the
error on my part when I sent the reminder email. I had to send a similar reminder email last year, so I copied the one last year and I updated the date as well as the legal counsel, or the counsel changed the same firm, but the link itself didn't update. So if you copied and pasted that link from the reminder email, it was an issue. That was
wrong
an
place.
I
error.
found that, I just fixed it when I pasted it. I was like, oh, that's not the right lady.
Yes, I appreciate that, and thank you for bringing that to my attention. We were able to rectify that.
And it's good. We had 100% turn in this time. That's better than last year. So that's very good.
I did say I would make this comment publicly, though, my last time when I emailed it back. And just so you appreciate this, you saw an email, I said that I wanted to throw a 6 in on a couple of them just to kind of skew the numbers, because I felt like I was such a pain in the process of the going back and forth and it not going through. But I really do appreciate you for all you do. I said that I likened it to being able to like skew a GPA the way some high schoolers end up with above a 4.0. Thank you.
Yeah, I had to get a 4.25. Yep, very good. Okay, so the big question is, so we're all good with accepting and receiving this score, right? It's all good. I guess the big question is, what are we going to do for? Are we going to do anything for a pay adjustment this go around? We're all on kind of different opinions here. Sorry, Mr. Miller's not here. We can appreciate his input as well. Comments, suggestions?
To Mr. Gans's comment earlier, as far as seeing kind of history. I think that would be helpful, though. Also, the last couple of years, we've been going through kind of a flux of magnitude of different changes, from having Colleen as an interim director, then eventually as an executive director, being in temporary space, moving here. There's extra duties that were going on,
Tremendous amount to handle.
including real estate dealings and whatnot, and build out. And so each year it was kind of, well, what are we dealing with this year? It's always kind of been at least what the staff is getting, and also look at what other comparable TPOs or MPOs in the state giving their executive directors and investments along the way with that as well. So that probably doesn't help or help, but it's just kind of.
Yeah, everybody has pretty much decided to say check and determine by the consensus of the executive committee. I do know or realize that the last 2 years have been extremely difficult for her to navigate through and keep on track with all of the changes from Ian, the loss of the place, temporary location, and the build out of the new place. But we've settled into a stable routine now, so perhaps the workload has been quite reduced to some extent.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and all TPO staff have been tasked with doing more. That's what that waiting to get this period of stability so that they could hire.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then
staff.
it's too bad that this is an evaluation for the entire staff, but we can, make some recommendations for the entire staff.
Well, I mean, we put the funding in the budget.
Okay, any suggestions, recommendations for status quo? An increase? What level increase? And you were silent on this, what's your,
Taking it all in, sir.
I'm familiar.
What's the, what did we do last year? 3 or 3.5?
I do not remember. See, that's a good point that Mr. Hans made. We don't have a history of that. I don't remember the history.
I could have sworn we.
I can provide some history just throughout the
Sure.
course of me moving into the permanent position. So I signed my contract in December of 2022 with the TPO. And at that time, my salary was set as at 140,000. The following year, in July, when we started that fiscal year, there was no increase, just due to the fact that I recently signed the contract. And so fiscal year 24, there was no increase. Fiscal year 25, there was a $7,000 merit increase in addition to the 3% cost of living adjustment that was made at that time. Last year, there was a 3% merit increase in addition to the 3% cost of living adjustments. Per my contract, any cost of living adjustment that's given to staff does also apply to me as well.
What is the COLA for this year?
3%. And my current salary right now is $162,053.
So it's just shy of a $5,000 just in the COLA increase. Where are we at? Where are we at with other TPOs or MPOs? Do we have any data? 162,000.
I don't have I don't modify a reference for comparable salaries. I should have looked that up.
So there are some salary surveys that have been done. Most recently, within the last month, the MPOAC was putting one together for the executive directors. We provided my salary that hasn't come out yet. I know at the time, when my initial salary was set, it was based on comparable MPOs within the area with the level of experience. Comparable MPOs are Space Coast TPO. They're very similar in size to ours in terms of population as well as staff. Also, the Polk TPO is another comparable one that we've used in the past. But when the first adjustment came in fiscal year 2025 with the $7,000 merit, that was really to kind of bring it in alignment with other MPOs and TPOs. I don't have the most recent data. It hasn't been released yet by the MPOAC, but I can get that and provide that information.
And you said you started in what, 2024?
My contract with the TPO for the permanent position was December of 2022. For 16 months prior to that, I served as the interim. And then my initial hire date with the TPO was 2017, where I served as the manager of operations and planning.
So it's about $22,000 increase over 4 years. Just my food for we're going through this. We deal with a lot of union contracts, at the county as well as probably some of the cities. Our city manager or county manager evals, and we're charged with looking to see pretty much in these positions or the executive positions, are you doing your job? How well you're doing the job? If you're not doing the job, bye. We're looking for somebody else that is going to fulfill those duties. at this pay scale, you know, and we want to always reward good, you know, good performance the best we can, but within reason. My only fear, and don't take this the wrong way, we're at 162,000. We're going to have another roughly what, 4,000 or 5,000 for the COLA. 48. So that's going to put 166 and some change. I don't know if I'm comfortable, you know, throwing another 3 or 5% on there. You know, this money's someone's money. It's coming from somewhere, but also too, and like I said, in these executive positions, this is what's expected of you, right? And you're here at the leisure of the board or the council, and you're getting well compensated for it, for this leadership position. And there's not many places you can go. How many employees do we have here?
There's 5 total increasing.
5 employees. At the county, we have divisions with 50 to 200, and some of our directors are making about 110 or 120. We have 5, and our executive directors making 162. I think the pay scale is pay is just my opinion. At the top tier executive for 5 employees. You know, we don't have 500. We don't have 3,500 like the county or the county manager, or even some of the cities. You know, City of Edgewater, I think their city manager's making 160. He's got several hundred employees. So I just try to put things in perspective when I look at this. And you know, I rated you very high. I'm happy with the performance. I think she's earning her money, and a lot of the stuff that we talk about. Sometimes it's hard to talk about, but it's part of the job description, right? And that these COLAs, that's what some of this stuff is there to make up. You know, so I'm happy with the COLA and leaving it the way it is, no additionals, but don't let that sway you in any way. That's just my opinion.
Well, I was coming into today thinking about this the whole time, kind of heavy lifting of the move, build out, all that. The turmoil, the straightening the TPO out, getting the compliance, getting the good footing with DOT. That's well and done. That was all heavy lifting. That was deserving of extra pay. I was coming in this morning thinking at this particular time that the COLA would be sufficient.
Yeah.
Because things are stable. Good staff. We have a wonderful location. Things are settling into a more quiet routine that are a bit easier to settle into. That was my.
And all this stuff like
I mean, that's my personal thought too. So
Hiring.
I'd love to hear everybody else.
when we're hiring people, you know, you put out a resume request or a job opening. People are soliciting that, and there has to be an acceptable. You know, if they think it's acceptable, they know there's a transition. You know, there was some heavy lifting in there. We greased the tracks there and took care of the staff, which which I'm for. But sometimes it'll have to level out. And this is the job. This is what we expect, and this is what you're going to get paid. You know, there can't be. It's hard to give raises when a lot of other people in society are struggling very much. You know, so that's just.
Well, I wish we could consider the rest of the staff as well, because they've done a lot of the work behind the scenes. Yes, sir.
So this is part of the dilemma I have with our current system, which maybe we have some additional time to look at it in the coming year. But right in normal merit pay systems, it's given based on the evaluation ranking. So if you have a certain ranking, you know, a lot of places have merit pays. We're in the middle of going through that at our county now. And that should be part of what's going through our minds as we're going through this evaluation, which I think is really why I talked about the fives being important to specify the exceptional behavior. Given everybody's evaluation, and a lot of straight fives, you would think that that would be equivalent to merit pay. But this is I totally agree, Councilman Robbins, in that establishing there's a range that we'll ultimately top out at. I don't know what that is, to where it's only COLA, but we just released our county manager, hundreds of employees with all of that responsibility, at just a little bit over what Ms. Nicolin's making, with a whole different level of responsibility. So I still have a lot of work to do in kind of pulling all this together. I think for my first year, I was, and especially at 160, the COLA is a big increase. But I just think there's additional work that needs to be done in this tool. So I have, that's why my recommendation was the COLA at this point for me, so I can do additional work, or we can do additional work as a team to try and narrow this down. But I don't know what it would, a new director, because again, every price goes up. We're finding that now that we're advertising for an administrator, our base has gone up, and because of the competition and the fact of trying to bring in quality people. But so our using what we have, and my first go at this was being able to justify the COLA increase, but I just wanted to bring those other parts to the table so that maybe we have time to work on this. If everybody else thinks we have, some improvement on this thing, but if we're going to keep giving out straight fives, it's hard to justify a COLA. But if we, in the back of our minds, are thinking in specific increments that are rankings, and if it's a true merit pay system, then we have to be transparent and backing that ranking up.
I appreciate it, but that's where I believe she deserves something extra, because I know we're saying that it's calmed down, but the thing is, she just went through the thick of it with the move and everything else and cleaned up everything the last years. I just think she deserves some type of something. I'm always terrible at helping decide what that something is.
That's the transparency part that backs that up. I mean,
Right.
we coalesce around that one idea that there's, for this year, there's a slight bonus or, additional merit to it.
Is there anything saying that we have to do it now?
Well, it's up to, the timing. This is
the time.
it's before us. Let's get it done.
So, just making some notes over here. But when I look at merit and stuff like this, some things that kind of like to see is where have we got any savings? Is the budget going down? Are we able to make any cuts here in terms of operational? Because we can, any of these things we can always do better. And if I see cuts and I see some of these other things, okay, you saved us $100,000 in the budget, or the taxpayers, whoever. Yeah, let's go ahead and great. That's what we want. But we got to kind of give her direction if we want to do going up a merit base, because really right now, those, if you don't rank well on those on the eval sheets, we're looking for somebody else. That's just a hard truth. And I still believe, she's being compensated very well for it. But treating this more like a little bit of a business, which it kind of is. If merit is the direction this board wants to go, what else are we getting out of it other than what she'd signed up for in the job description? What above and beyond, are we getting for that extra merit? Also, too, what are the employees making? Do we have an employee scale here? Each of the, we should know the 5 employee salaries. Do we have them on hand?
Mhm.
What are they?
So the current employees, the community outreach coordinator is $72,229. The transportation planner for modal and bike ped is $83,513. The administrative assistant is $47,590. And the accounting manager is $84,268.
So 3 out of the 4 of those are probably in the top 1% of society. I think they're getting paid. But now we have a jump where the highest one is 8420 and the executive director is making 162. Some change, double of what the top person is making, I think we should, if we're going to come up with a policy, everybody should think about it long and hard. That way future boards can see and at these times, have the executive director bring us up some of these questions that we're asking today. So we're not going to be here forever. That way they know what direction to go and they're seeing it other than just not willy-nilly just handing out money, but having some substance so we can make that decision. I don't think we can make that decision now. I'd probably vote no on any increases. I think the COLA is sufficient, but we do need to look at it in the future if we're going to, my opinion, go from there. So, or go higher from there.
So, to Mr. Dance's point, a little more details into evaluation. This the reasonings for the 5s. So it's what he's looking for. Some explanation of a 5 is exceptional above and beyond. And 7, that would highlight perhaps reasons for a merit above the COLA.
Do we have to do a merit? Do we have to do a merit? Is there something?
If you're giving the options for it to be on the 5, all the things as well as if you're giving somebody a 3 or 4, why the 3 or 4, and what could they do better to improve? So if you're looking for more detail, that would be.
Is there anything saying that we have to do a COLA?
COLA, that's
Right.
not a contract. That happens anyway.
Okay, so
If there's any more thoughts.
Yeah, so I'm appreciate everything that everyone's saying and, it's all good input and especially looking at making this process make more sense in the future. As someone who may not be, sitting here for the discussion in the future, I just, want to provide a little more kind of thoughts into that. So one is there are some open positions, including a possible kind of second, like a deputy type position that would fall in that gap when you're looking at it. We used to have that. The other is having been through a search for an executive director, engaging with a search firm to go out and get us like the best possible candidates. I agree with what you're saying, Danny, about looking at the county and cities and department heads, things like that. But what we realized during that search is this is such a specialized field that there's what we wound up with was a pool of candidates that, yeah, some of them had planning experience or even like assistant city manager experience, but they had no previous transportation planning experience. And so, we're just within the state of Florida, we have 411 cities and 62 counties or 72, whatever. So if you're hiring, say, a public works director, there's how many deputy public works directors out there who would love that job. And so we were handed resumes and we said, oh, great. So you've cut this down from how many? No, we had 18. And within that, there was 6 that had experience that we chose to move forward with to interview.
I see the same thing, but we have several people under her that are very target specific.
Sure.
She kind of has the managerial side, and she has to be a little bit of a master at everything, not necessarily an expert at everything. That's why we have other specialized people.
No, I understand that completely.
So, she's like the conductor, and
Yeah.
sure, and it all falls on her, and that's why she's get paid the big bucks.
I
So,
think there's 17 MPOs or TPOs in the state.
27.
27, some more.
any of these positions like the deputy, are we running fine without it? Do we need it? Can we cut any of these positions if we're running, being efficient, effective with 5 employees and a jam up director? Do we need some of these other, and can we decrease the budget in the future? And that's what I want to see. If we're gonna be passing out some bucks, I want to see that hey, we're forward thinking, we can possibly.
Checks and balances, you want to balance out if you want.
Absolutely. If some of these positions aren't needed, get rid of them.
I appreciate that. Okay.
Commentary would be though, if you're gonna get rid of, would be specifically do maybe we cut the budget slightly, but I think if you were to eliminate that position or any other position, I should beef up Pam and some of the other ladies that are over there to give them more leads to also.
Charlotte, comes down to efficiency and effective. Look what Musk did with X. He terminated 90% of the people, and it's running better than ever now at a fraction of the cost. That's where efficiency and effective comes in. If we're doing it, and we're doing it now, right? Getting compensated for it. 22, it's going to be $26,000, $28,000 raise in 4 years. That's unheard of in any sector or private sector thing.
Well, I'm not talking about Colleen, I'm talking about if you were to cut that, if you were talking about cutting the position of the deputy director position per se, just to cut the budget. I said that if you were to do that, my suggestion would not be just to do it just to cut the budget, but cut it slightly, but you could also beef up the pay of some of the other employees, just to give them incentive to stay, because I think all the employees are great, but they're not getting raises every year, because we don't, that doesn't mean they've been getting COLAs, but I'm just talking about the other employees.
How many unfilled positions does it have?
So we have 3 budgeted positions that are not filled. 2 of them were filled prior to COVID. The other one was a position that was created to allow for interns or first level graduates, which we just really haven't been able to find specific to this field. But with respect, cutting the positions, right now we are managing the minimum of what we need to manage at the TPO. Additional positions will allow us to go above and beyond and do the additional studies, because there is a capacity level, even though we do utilize consultants to be able to manage those consultant contracts. So right now, we have Stephen has picked up a lot of the traffic ops, which was something that I had done prior to moving into the current role. I still manage the TIP and the UPWP. All of that would be something that deputy position would manage as well. So we have those budgeted, and they were budgeted at the amount that the prior employee was making. So our budget is a little bit different than city and county budgets. It's not, if we cut something here, the money doesn't go back. We fill it into something else, but it would allow us to do potentially additional studies. I know when we talked about the budget at last month's board meeting as a draft, there was questions about the contingency amount that was in the personnel. So we did take a look at that, and we're looking at making some adjustments to that. But we would be pulling that out and putting it somewhere else within our budget to help support some of our studies moving forward. I just I do appreciate all of the comments here because they're very well taken moving forward. CPO is kind of a niche, organization. I am satisfied with the cost of living adjustment because that allows me the ability then to look at the staff salaries increase because I'm only as good as the staff behind me. So even though with the financial and the invoicing and everything we've done over the last 2 years, the lion's share of that came from our accounting department and it came from Mariel Lemke. Doing that and getting us up to speed, working with Kaya and her team, to making sure that we had all of our ducks in a row. Yes, I oversee it and I review and it's my signature on that going in. But she did the lion's share of that. Pam has stepped up in ways as well. We've recycled administrative assistants, over the last couple of years with resignations and bringing new. She was the one that always stepped up during that interim period. So I am only good as the staff that I see. Below me, they do provide the support here. And we go through a similar exercise at the staff level, looking at the salaries and able to provide that merit adjustment as well. And that's one of the reasons why that contingency is within there to allow that flexibility to occur at the staff level as well.
And that's, I'm happy you said that because that's exactly what I was looking for. But something I'd like to know, just so I can get my mindset ready. Has there been any projects or funding that we haven't been able to get based on our vacancies? Are we falling short?
We haven't been able to do what I call kind of some of the elective studies. I know there were some discussions to do an e-bike study. We haven't fallen short on any of our federal or state requirements or the studies. We did, submit and receive the SS4A, so that was additional funding that we received. But we have not spent down our consultant budget, which means we're not able to do some of those studies moving forward. But at the staff level, I mean, it takes us, to manage those projects. So we do have a number of projects moving forward that we would like to, and I call them the elective ones. They're not required for us to do as an organization. But one of the other areas that I think is important for us to look at is all of our administrative documents, our purchasing manual, our employee handbook. All of those are 10 to 15 years old, and we really haven't had a chance to get to those over the last couple of years, just given some of the additional stuff that we've had to do with the relocation and move.
So we're pretty much up to speed from what I hear on everything, all of our projects. The plus is above and beyond stuff. So we can get to those as needed. What do you need from this board, or what do you need from me to update your manuals and some of that stuff you just talked about?
So I have spoken with our legal counsel on that. So there's a number of manuals or bylaws. All of those are kind of tied together. So we're looking at kind of putting together a plan of how to move that forward using our legal counsel.
Is that something we got to give direction to, or is that something how do we do it? How much is it going to cost? How can we plan for that?
That's something that I'll bring back.
Okay.
I think it's on our radar as a task to do.
And those are deliverables that are listed in our new UPWP, which does go into effect in July. So that's something that we'll be looking at doing at the first of the fiscal year.
It's already on the slate.
And then I also wrote down, in addition to that, based on this conversation, is also looking at doing an updated salary survey specific to our positions here at the TPO. So not just the statewide does a collective of the executive director, but also looking at all of the positions that we have.
So Chairman, I'll make, you need a motion. I'll make it just for the COLA across the boards. How do you want to do it?
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments, discussion?
We are only in control of her contract,
Well,
right?
yeah, for her. So.
Yeah.
Colleen's has discretion with the employees.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, appreciate Colleen stating that she's
That's a big help.
satisfied with it, and especially in efforts of looking at the staff. So the only other comment I would have is that to Commissioner Dance's original comment in this, when this discussion started, it's highly encourage this body to come up with a process in which moving forward, it doesn't become a drawn out awkward conversation, that there's something set that the criteria.
And even as such, again, being new, a prioritization of goals for the coming year would be helpful. So I know what you're focusing on and pursuing, because then we can, at the end of the year, evaluate progress on a set of goals.
That's a good,
Yeah, whether you hit the mark or not.
Right.
and we recently did that. I can get you the guy that did that for us. Because, you get room and you can get off in a couple different directions quick and off the rails. So this guy pretty much came in. We had a 1 hour long goal setting session. From there, he compiles it, gets it back in front of the board for approval. Boom, she has her marching orders for the year. The county manager does, and then at the end of the year when we're doing evals, like you said, did you hit this? If you hit that, then we could say, okay.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful for us, because we're kind of stumbling here, and I think that those kind of guidelines, those kind of things, if they were included in the evaluation, would be helpful. I agree.
And then you can take
And
into
this
account.
is relatively new. This is what, the third year we've done this. So it's something.
And then
Because it's just a tool for us, and if the tool's not working right, we get a different wrench, right?
Yeah.
Modify the tool. to make it work for us. That's all it is. Okay. We have a motion, we have a second. For salary status as it is, COLA only. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. First item is done. Thank you all for your input on this. It's a difficult decision, difficult discussion, but it's very, very important one. Very much. We'll go on to another difficult discussion. 3B. Discussion and recommendation of a slate of TPO officers for fiscal year 2026-27. Per the TPO bylaws, a recommended slate of officers consisting of a chairman, first vice chairperson, treasurer, and second vice chairperson. Secretary shall be presented to the TPO board in May to serve a one-year term starting in July of each year. The current slate of officers is as follows. Myself as the TPO chairperson. Our first vice chairperson, treasurer, was resigned. So that position is vacant. The second vice chairperson, secretary is council member.
So consistent with what we've done in years past is, we kind of have a rolling officer position where typically the first chair rolls up into the chairperson to serve 1 year term. Chair Sander has served for a year and a half. That first half year, he filled the vacancy that was left by Representative Partington when he was the board chair at that time. So it kind of just moves forward in a rolling motion. So that would put Councilmember Robbins in that position to move up into the chair. There's nothing that states in our bylaws that has to be done that way. So if there's, if there's not interest or time, the additional time really is to chair the meetings, to chair the executive committee meeting. There are some statewide organizations that I know Chair Sander is a member of. It's not a requirement that the chair serves in those organizations. So you could continue to serve if that was something you were interested in doing and in pleasure of. Typically, those appointments come from the chair themselves. With regard to the executive committee itself, the membership of the executive committee is made up of the immediate past chair, the 3 officer positions, and then 3 at-large members that are appointed directly by the chair. So there could potentially be some other appointments that need to be made.
Chairman,
Yes,
if I just, I'll do whatever the board wishes. I'm happy with you, Chairman, in your work and your leadership. I sit on about 14 boards with the county. I want to be able, whatever I do and whatever commitment I make to this team, I want to be able to do 110%. If I can't do that, it hurts the team. I just want to be up. If I want to be up front, I get pretty stretched thin.
you're stressed in already.
Yeah. I'll serve as vice chair, you know, if needed. If you guys say, Danny, we want you as chair, I'll figure it out somehow. But I just want to be transparent, forthcoming. I have a full plate, but I will do it if that's what y'all want. But I'm happy with you, chair. If you want to continue serving, I can.
Well, I'm not opposed to that, but let's hear from other.
No, I appreciate that input. I was going to ask if you were willing to serve as chair. The remaining vice chair.
You guys want to do.
Yes, sir.
Looking at the slate, I think, right, in my mind, coming into this, it made sense to move Councilmember Robbins up to first vice chair. Because, and that would, I believe, leave you in position to continue to chair, and then we would get into another rotation. We'd get somebody into the second vice president position and hopefully continue a roll up, which would give you time to plan for a year. If that's what you wanted to do. If you accept it, it would be anticipated that you would roll up. That would give you time.
And there's nothing that says we can't do that. Historically, it's been a year or the last 2 rotations, year and a half.
Or 6 months, or a few months, as in the case of Harding.
Yeah.
You know, he moved up to chair and then when the election up to the House.
So just, our bylaws do state that it's a 1-year term. So that would be deviating from the bylaws.
Okay. So our bylaws determine what we must do.
Right. Well, it's a 1-year term, but does it say anything about successor?
That's what I'm looking at.
Executive.
Right.
And if Aaron couldn't do it, would Chris be able to do it again? Not trying to put more on your plate, Chris.
I mean, it's a same thing with our regional council elections play into this, or other decisions you end up having to recalculate this. So you do the best that you can. I mean, if it's consistency is important, or I know from my perspective, I was in position to roll up through the regional council, which helps me from planning, my commitments.
Elections. Chair of our region.
And the elections do play a part in it. But that's the nature of TPO.
So the bylaws with regard to the chair position, it's silent to consecutive terms. There is language in there specific to our committees where they can only serve 2 consecutive terms, but for the chair position of the governing board, it's silent to that.
We can revisit.
Which-
And then for
yeah.
clarification, since we're at this point,
Okay.
But then we would need, with discussion on the second vice, right? We would need, if we roll this, we'd need discussion of,
Who to fill the second vice
Right.
chair or secretary because of the vacancy that Reed Foley left.
Nominating.
All right, so we have Slade as a second. I'll go with that.
we have to ask for other nominations if there are, but.
I'm just sighing because that leaves me. That's
What?
Oh, that's
You're
right, it
still
does.
giving
You're
us
still
that
here.
here.
Forgot about that.
a good.
All right, so you good with that too? All right. You want a motion? Unless there's not any other motions or nominations.
Are we running off the rails here by not following the bylaws? The bylaws are silent. I am, my election cycle is 2 years. I have 2 years to serve. Being uninterrupted. I'm willing to serve again if that be the census of the committee.
You just re-swear them in at that year mark. Tap them. Take the sword out, and tap you on the shoulder.
All that happens during a month we don't meet, so it's easy.
If I don't hear any other nominations, I don't know the process, if you want to do these as a motion for a slate.
Personally,
Typically, it's been a slate.
Let's do it. Let's do it as a slate.
Hearing your thoughts and council member Robbins, Skillis, I'll make a motion to nominate Mr. Sander to continue as president, chairperson. Moving Mr. Robbins up to first vice chairperson and nominating Ms. Skillis as second vice chairperson.
Second.
Any input, thoughts?
I think moving forward, I think that kind of lines us up and keeps it, it's in line with the bylaws. It is silent to the executive for the board, but it is specific to the committees. So I would read that as it's,
If we want to address that as a change, it's coming here. Specific. Yeah. We can say, giving us flexibility, I think 2 consecutive is not a bad idea, but limited for that. Because we do have fluctuations with elections and withdrawals.
Can we massage the bylaws? What do we got to do, to tailor it however you want?
Well, she's coming up on a bylaw rewrite.
Yeah, I think it's silent, so until we address it, there's nothing that says we can.
Right.
yeah, I mean, and I think it stays consistent with, I've always tried to keep the leadership rotation, cities, county. Forward. Nice to see
that
the-
doesn't make sense.
Maybe nice to see next year the slate to include a Flagler person.
Possibly, and
I nominate Ty.
and it also may have a little bit to do with the depth of experience or time on the executive
Sure.
as well. Which are just relatively new here at second vice chair, which is important. Mr. Miller is relatively quite new, so depth of experience is helpful with selecting. So we have a motion.
We're willing to accept the chair position.
I'm willing to serve. I'm willing to serve as decided. A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, that's done.
Do
you have that on your list to do bylaw review?
Yes. The attorney, yes.
Okay,
If the attorney has anything else to say, we need to bring it to us if they don't agree.
Will do.
happy to do it. Okay, 2 hard ones are out of the way. Item 3, discussion and recommendation to reschedule the November 25th, 2026 TPO board meeting to November 18th. Since the November TPO board meeting falls the day before Thanksgiving and a physical quorum may be difficult to reach, the meeting is typically rescheduled to occur a week before on the 3rd Wednesday of the month. Note to self. Colleen.
Yes, so in years past, we've rescheduled this meeting. Typically, we do it later in the year, but just for some planning, end of year planning, we kind of want to get it on the books early, and then that way y'all can get it on your calendars. I know the 3rd Wednesday, there are some conflicts with some board members with the Central Florida Regional Planning Council, but we've moved it the last 2 years to occur earlier rather than push it back later. A lot of times once the holiday starts, there's a lot of activities that are going on with the different individual board members. So it's just, it has worked in the past to move it up 1 week.
Comments?
Motion to approve moving it up.
All in favor?
Aye.
Done. Well, but it has to be done, before we bring it before the board, so that's all good. This is item 3D. Review and approve a letter of support for the City of Deltona's applications for Safe Streets and Roads for All, SS4A grant program. This letter provides support for the City of Deltona's application for the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant program to develop a bike ped motorist comprehensive safety action plan to improve safety for all users traveling within the city. And the letter has been included for your purview.
So this is the application to that program. This is the 5th year of the SS4A. The applications are due the day of our board meeting, and the city has requested a letter of support.
And the city receiving the funds directly doesn't preclude us from getting funds here for other projects or.
No, it doesn't.
I'm always for supporting the city's getting more.
Absolutely. Motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That one carries. Okay, last item, or no, not the last item, but item E. Review and approve a letter of support for VoTrans application to the Commission for Transportation Disadvantaged for an innovative service development grant. This letter provides support for VoTrans application for an innovative services development grant to provide additional flexibility to transportation disadvantaged riders on VoRide, Volusia County's on-demand rideshare public transit service.
I'm gonna have Stephen come up since he manages the transit. Provide a little additional information.
Very good.
So this grant, Innovative Service Development Grant, the commission has this grant program every year. And last fall, we provided a letter of support for their application for an ISD grant. They received the grant, about $450,000. With that, they set up a pilot program. That pilot program is ongoing, but all of those grant funds have to be expended by June 30th this year. This letter is for an additional grant to continue their pilot test June 30th. And the way it works is that for transportation disadvantaged customers, they have a program and they use mini buses. Each bus has a wheelchair lift. And TD customers, which have qualify for the program, all of them can use those vehicles. They have to schedule trips in advance, have up to a week in advance to schedule trips. There are a limited number of slots, scheduling slots for their trips. And there really is more demand for slots than there is capacity. What Volusia wants to do, they have a second program, which is Full Ride. Full Ride uses the 7-passenger minivans. It's open to the general public. And what Volusia would like to do is that if you have customers that are using the mini buses, but don't need the wheelchair lifts. Some of them are ambulatory, don't need the lifts. Those customers can schedule rides using the Full Ride minivans. And this provides funding for them to do that. And additional flexibility for those riders. And it will enable them to continue the pilot program into the next fiscal year.
I'm just gonna speak on this one now, that this just makes me so happy. I had a conversation with somebody yesterday. This lines up with everything, who is, they are legally blind and they are able to get one of these rides in the morning somewhere, but they have trouble getting the slot later in the afternoon, and they were having trouble trying to get rides home from work a couple days a week, and somebody else is stepping in to cover that. So seeing this, expanding that program, that just kind of puts me in the feelings today, and I appreciate this very much.
That just is good common sense. Motion,
Motion to approve.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item F is to review and approve April 1st, 2026 Executive Committee meeting minutes. Ready going over the minutes? Any additions, deletions, changes we need to make?
To approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And last item is to review and approve the draft May 27th, 2026 TPO board agenda.
Wish to approve.
Well, let's
Second.
see what Colleen has to say about what's on the agenda first.
Right, just a couple items on the agenda that aren't normal on the consent agenda. We have our annual filing of our Transportation Disadvantage Planning Grant Agreement under the consent agenda. Also an appointment as an alternate on the Transportation Disadvantage Local Coordinating Board. The rescheduling of the November meeting, and then also review and approval of our ICAR, which is our Intergovernmental Coordination and Review and Public Transportation Collaborative Planning Agreement. This is an agreement that has recently been updated, the template through DOT. Our current agreement, I believe, is from 2014. So it's time for us to update it. And it's just a statement that we are going to collaborate with public transportation. Under the action items, I did receive word yesterday from Kaya that there will be no tip amendment this month. So we'll take off action item A. B is the recommended slate of officers. C is approval of our annual operating budget for fiscal year 27. And then also this year, a little bit different. Last year, in prior years, the evaluation has always been under the consent agenda. Last year during discussion of that, it was requested that it be pulled out and be a full action item that's voted on individually. So we'll have that as item D, which will now be C under the action items. Under presentation and discussions, we're currently updating our list of priority projects. So we'll make a presentation on those draft updates, as well as the development of our 5-year transportation improvement program. So we'll present on that. At last month's board meeting, we also had discussion about the FTA section 5310 program funding. And there was some additional information that was requested as to which projects that funding has gone to in the past. So we'll give a presentation and an update on that funding as well. So that's the agenda with the removal of action item A.
Comments, questions? Motion?
Motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good. Staff comments.
I don't have anything additional to add to.
Committee member comments.
I don't know if anybody else is going, or I guess this may be more so a question if anybody else is going, the Central Florida Safety Summit. Are you going?
Pam and I are going.
You know, Kaya said she
10 to
was
2.
going.
10 to 2.
10 to 2. I should know if any other board members were attending. But I'll see you three there.
Yes.
Far.
I like to
Just like to drive.
I like to
Good on you.
drive. You can tell me if Tallahassee road trip.
Huh.
Driving clears my.
Any other committee member members?
Just wanted to thank the TPO for allowing me to go to the training on Friday at BOAC. So that was enlightening and very helpful.
Very good. You went through that. Yeah. I went through it 3 years ago. It was very good. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Appreciate your confidence in me. I look forward to serving with you going forward, pending the board signing on to it. And I'll not miss another thing. If there's nothing else, we're adjourned.